Hey folks, welcome to Planet Traffic. Today's episode, I'm going to start it. Might be a little windy. Let me stop. Oh, more building. I'm in the Villas, New Jersey. Yes, they are. It is still building and building and building. And look at this. I think there's some rain on the horizon. Tide's coming in on Delaware Bay. Yeah, this looks like they got a little something heading out right around there. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, tide's coming in right now. I'm going to be shooting some short form videos, riding on the sandbars probably tomorrow. But I did want to share with my YouTube audience, especially those that have seen some of my VILLAS, New Jersey videos that are on my channel. So I have a playlist on my channel. It's I think it's Mikey Heels at the Shore, and that's where all my shore stuff is. Some wild experiences from when I was living there during the summer. Villas experiences when I was growing up there, staying at my grandparents' place. And that is why I wanted to start this video just saying I just had the pleasure of being on that property. The owners let me, I just, said hello to a woman that was at the front of the house at my grandmother's old place. And I just was like, oh, how you doing? And I go, yeah, sure, how you doing? Good. I go, my grandparents had owned this back in the mid-60s, all the way up until about the late 80s. And she was like, wow, really? I was like, yep. And then the gentleman that was with her actually was like, here, he asked me about the layout of the home back during that time. And the way they had the front of the house kind of built, they had a deck. It was almost wraparound. It wasn't almost, it was wrap around the front onto the side of the home where there was another door. And he had asked me, was that room on the right side there? Then I go, yeah. I go, matter of fact, there was a door just like, well, a doorway along with a flight of concrete steps. And he goes, oh, look under the deck. You look under the deck, the steps were still there. So they just built over them. I don't blame them. Who wants to break them up and then, if you don't have to? So yeah, they built right over the steps. But it was really cool. Like being on the property. I'm not one to go walking on someone's property. I'm a little too old for the trespassing thing. So it was cool to just have that moment, and be around that house or be on that property. Kind of envision some of the things that I used to remember seeing from having stayed there so many summers, from the basically the late 70s through till about, I don't know, 1983. So I was probably there for 5 or 6 summers. So yeah. This is the actual street that I was growing up, during the summers on Atlantic Avenue. The house is right down the street there. But when you start thinking about it, about all the things that were not here when I was a kid, one thing's for certain is this house right here on the left, right there, this house right across the street from it right there, and this house right over here on the right there, are the actual homes as they looked in 1982. And that is actually crazy to think about, because so much is getting built up back here. Look at that pretty sky. So much is getting built in the villas, built up. Like this lot right here is up for sale. I see there's a for sale sign right down here on the corner. We used to run around in there and carry on and play all kinds of games. A lot of people did. You have all kinds of forts in there. You could have the forts with the ticks and all the fleas and flies and every other mosquitoes you want. All day long. But yeah, look, same, and the house next to that the same, and the house next to that the same. So inevitably change is coming. There's no doubt about that. How long it'll take for those properties to be switched up is a whole nother thing. Matter of fact, for sale sign for this lot right here. And is actually Bates Avenue, right, that we're on, and Millman Lane. That's the cross street right here. This is Bates. And that, back in 1982, that home right there was actually being built. But yeah, original. Maybe the siding changed. Look, well, that's the, you can tell that's the original. And who knows who owns that at this point. This is kind of original right here. And then as you cut, I'm just going to do this real quick. Definitely newer. And this one on the corner, definitely newer. And when you go through here, the street, this is Atlantic. That's my grandmother's house right down there, the yellow one on the right. None of this was here except for a home in the, right there on the end. There was a small little place there. And that's where the chef stayed, who was cooking at Layer's Dutch Kitchen. That has been long gone, perished in a fire. That's on my YouTube channel, the date that happened. I think that was in the 90s. But Layer's Dutch Kitchen used to sit right here, right along here. From here, and this was a parking lot, and this right in front of us was a parking lot. So as much as things and Layers would have been right there. It's a pretty long building and very well known. So as much as there's so much building and so much change, as much as that's a thing, interestingly, that this little intersection right here coming, that I just showed you, all those houses, they're the same. That's kind of very interesting that that's the case. Shooting this spot right here. This is where the old bulkhead is still visible. Look, there's the pylons right there. And all along here you can see the top of the bulkhead. This used to be about a 6 to 8 foot drop straight down. So in other words, where I'm standing right now, back in the 70s and 80s, I would be falling 6 to 8 feet, I'd say, conservatively, because all this sand was not here. Some old bulkhead too. And then of course I have a little small story. Let's see, this whole area right here, specifically this here, right here, at New York. I guess this is where it changes from Millman Lane to Delaware Bay Drive. Didn't even know it did that. But New York and Millman Lane, right here, this old area here was Smitty's bar. Matter of fact, the gentleman that just showed me my grandmom's place, you know, let me on the property, was like, oh, did you know so-and-so? I was like, no, not familiar with the name. He goes, yeah, that was the banjo player at Smitty's. And I go, oh, I know what Smitty's was, but I was too young to get in Smitty's. And I wasn't here. When I got older, I wasn't. But when I was 21, I wasn't here to go in there. But anyway, interestingly, that bulkhead there that's still showing was actually being built. I'm going to take the camera off because of the one of the neighbors is probably trying to figure out what I'm doing. That bulkhead's actually fairly new, because at some point during Smitty's existence, yeah, look at pretty sky in the back. During Smitty's existence, a big hurricane hit here, and that hurricane, the people that actually worked in Smitty's bar itself was actually like trying to hold the tide back. I forget what year it was. I read that on the internet, of course. But like when that's the beauty at times of the internet. So like somebody put a little, oh, who remembers Smitty's, and it just was like a massive amount of people that were talking about Smitty's bar and the different stories that happened there, because it was a very well-known place, and the owners were very well liked. My grandfather always went there. He was going there for forever and ever. And that's a couple clicks down from the fishing club, which is still there. The fishing club's still there. But I remember them talking about the actual bulkhead on that was being refortified during like a massive hurricane. Crazy. Yeah, so that's going to about do it for this episode. Basically, just I think I'm going to do a handful of these videos because it's kind of what I do on my channel. You know, just to look back. I guess it's using your imagination, referencing what things did look like. Oh my God, 50 years ago. What they've transitioned into now. It is what it is. It's a good feel, you know. I like doing that. So that's going to be basically what's going on. And I'm currently in the VILLAS, New Jersey. I'm gonna do some vids in Wildwood. One of my most popular vids is that I have. The most popular vid that I have is of Hunts Pier. My recollections of Hunts Pier, and I'm planning on going back over there this week to shoot some stuff along those lines again. Plus, it is the best. This area is the best one-wheel area. It really is. Philly was great, and this area is a close second. You know, being in Georgia, the asphalt trails are really, really good down there, but you're just roaming around streets, and you know the traffic, especially now the traffic in April in like Wildwood and the VILLAS is never really that big a deal with traffic. It's really at a low. It's couple months away. Even in the summer, I was riding around in Wildwood Street, so it wasn't bad at all with the one wheel. All right, folks. Have a great day. Pleasant tomorrow, and I'll see you next episode.